Good morning. My name is Trey Bishop, and I'm going to be going over the legislative updates for South Carolina for tax year 2025. First, we're going to talk about income tax. So, from a conformity standpoint, South Carolina's income tax laws conform to the Internal Revenue Code through December 31st of 2024, and this includes the effective date provisions. All right, so we had a rate reduction for our tax rate for 2025. The top marginal tax rate has been reduced to 6% for 2025. We also had a bracket collapse. So the 6 tax brackets have collapsed to 3 brackets. For the first bracket, it's going to be for income levels of $0 to $3,559, and that's going to be a 0% tax rate. For the second tax bracket, that's going to be for income levels of $3,560 to $17,829, and that's going to be a 3% tax rate minus $107. And then we have the third tax bracket. That's for income levels of $17,830 and above, and that's the 6% tax rate minus $642. From a withholding standpoint, income tax withholding provisions that required withholding at a 7% rate changed to require withholding at the maximum income tax rate, which is at 6% that we just talked about. And that's going to be for withholding on prizes or winnings of $500 or more, withholding on rent or royalty payments to non-residents, withholding on distributions by a trust or estate to a non-resident beneficiary, withholding on purchases of real property from a non-resident seller, and withholding on wages paid to an individual who fails to provide a taxpayer identification number or a Social Security number. For the South Carolina dependent exemption, that's increased to $4,930 for 2025. That's for each eligible dependent, including a qualifying child and qualifying relative. And you'll take that subtraction on line W of the SC 1040. The dependent under 6 deduction has also increased to $4,930, and you'll take that subtraction on line T of the SC 1040. All right, tax credits is next, and for the classroom teacher expenses credit, the credit limit remains at $400 for 2025. This is a refundable credit that's taken using the I-360, and it's only available for classroom teachers who are not eligible for supplies reimbursement under the budget proviso. All right, property tax. Improvements to property damaged by catastrophic weather events. This applies to real property or personal property that's used as a residence that was damaged during the 2015 flood, the Hurricane Matthew of 2016, Hurricane Florence of 2018, or Hurricane Helene of 2024. Any improvements made after the event and before June 30th of 2026 are not considered improvements and may not be reassessed at a higher rate because of the assistance that was provided. The property tax value of an eligible property should remain the same unless assessable transfer of interest occurs. All right, sales and use tax is next. For durable medical equipment, the sales tax exemption has been amended to apply to all providers who hold a South Carolina retail license. State and federal Medicare and Medicaid laws define what qualifies as durable medical equipment, and that went into effect on May 12th of 2025. For farm fuels, the proviso states that chemicals and oils used in an exempt farm machine that are essential to the functioning of the machine are exempt fuels used in farm machinery and farm tractors. This includes, but is not limited to, grease, lubricants, and coolants. And for festival craftsmen, the proviso states that any person who makes sales no more than 4 times in the year at a fair, festival, carnival, or event that operates for less than 12 consecutive days and is not engaged in the business of making sales at retail does not have to have a retail license. This includes artists, a craft person, and a hobbyist, and does not apply to anyone that's engaged in the business of making sales at retail, for which they are required to obtain a retail license. All right, what you see here is the ST500. This is actually the third one that we've had for 2025. The first one was kind of a carryover from 2024, and then we had some changes to local taxes that went into effect on May 1st of this year, and then we had some additional changes that went into effect on July 1st of this year. If you would like to access the most up-to-date ST500, then you can visit dor.sc.gov/sales and use. So here are the changes that occurred in 2025 for local taxes. We had Georgetown County. They added a new capital projects tax. That was effective May 1st of 2025, and that increased their sales tax rate to 7%. Horry County has a new transportation tax, and the capital projects tax expired. So effective May 1st of 2025, the sales tax rate remained at 8%. In Jasper County, they added a new transportation tax that went into effect on May 1st of 2025, and that increased their sales tax rate to 9%. Sumter County has a new capital projects tax that went into effect on May 1st of 2025, and that increased their sales tax rate to 8%. Williamsburg County, they had the capital projects tax expire, and that went into effect on May 1st of 2025, and that decreased their tax rate to 7%. In Clarendon County, their education capital improvement tax expired, and that went into effect on June 30th of 2025, and that reduced the sales tax rate to 7%. And then for Lexington County, the school district tax has been extended an additional 7 years, beginning March 1st of 2026. All right, next we have miscellaneous taxes. For alcohol server training, alcohol servers and managers must complete alcohol server training and obtain an alcohol server certificate. If an alcohol server or manager does not have a current alcohol server certificate, licensee or permittee must provide alcohol server training within 30 calendar days of employment. The Department of Revenue will approve alcohol server training programs offered by providers. And if you would like more information about approved programs, then you can visit dor.sc.gov/ABL server training. A licensee or permittee must have physical or electronic copies of all alcohol server certificates for managers and alcohol servers for the duration of employment. Copies of the certificates must be on the permitted or licensed premises and must be made available upon request to the Department of Revenue. A licensee or permittee must also provide the date a manager or alcohol server begins employment in that capacity. All right, for the penalties of prohibited acts relating to the sale of beer and wine, a violation of any of the prohibited acts found in section 61-4-580 is grounds for revocation or suspension of the holder's permit. Section 61-4-580B has been amended to provide penalties for a permittee or licensee who violates any of the provisions in section 61-4-580. So the first offense is a fine of $2,500. The second offense, within 2 years of the first offense, is a suspension of the alcohol license or permit for up to 14 days as determined by the department. And the third offense, within 3 years of the first offense, is revocation of the alcohol license or permit. The sale of beer or wine at a collegiate sporting venue. Section 61-4-523 has been amended to prohibit the sale of beer and wine at certain collegiate sporting venues unless the permit holder requires all sales personnel to complete mandatory SCDOR approved alcohol server training. It utilizes internal random checks of sales locations during the event of sufficient frequency to reasonably determine that sales procedures and identification verification procedures comply with the established protocol. It utilizes forensic digital identification systems or other means of acceptable to the Department of Revenue to verify the authenticity of the ID at the point of sale. It prohibits the sale of beer and wine in student sections with designated concession areas and prohibits the sale of beer and wine to customers presenting a vertical identification card. For the liquor liability risk mitigation, a person licensed or permitted to sell alcoholic beverages for on-premises consumption, which remains open after 5 p.m. to sell alcoholic beverages for on-premise consumption, is required to maintain a liquor liability insurance policy or a general liability insurance policy with a liquor liability endorsement for a total coverage of at least $1 million. A licensee or permittee who stops serving alcohol by 12 a.m. for the entire policy may reduce the annual aggregate by $250,000. A licensee or permittee may reduce the required annual aggregate by $100,000 per item if all employees who serve alcohol complete an approved alcohol training course within 60 days of employment in that capacity, have less than 40% of total sales deriving from alcohol sales, and they use a forensic digital identification system that validates the identification of any person attempting to enter the premises between the hours of 12 a.m. and 4 a.m. A licensee or permittee who is a nonprofit exempt from tax under IRC 501c3 or who is engaging in the single event for which beer and wine special event license, the liquor special event permit, or a special nonprofit event license is obtained may reduce its annual limit by $500,000. Any person licensed or permitted to sell alcoholic beverages for on-premises consumption, which remains open after 5 p.m. to sell alcoholic beverages for on-premises consumption, is required to maintain coverage with an annual aggregate limit of at least $300,000 during the entire period of the biennial permit or license. Each applicant or person renewing its license or permit who is subject to liquor liability insurance requirements will provide the Department of Revenue with documentation of the required insurance policy. Failure to maintain the required insurance coverage during the entire period of the biennial permit or license constitutes grounds for suspension or revocation of the permit or license, and insurers must notify the Department of Revenue within 30 days of any lapse or termination of the insurance policy. All permittees and licensees selling alcoholic beverages for on-premise consumption at any time between the hours of 12 a.m. and 4 a.m. must use a forensic digital identification system to validate the identification of any person attempting to enter the premises as a patron. All right, there's a 3% reduction on the interest rate on tax refunds. Proviso 41.2 decreases 2% the interest rate for tax refunds paid during the current fiscal year. The revenue resulting from this 2% reduction must be used for operations of the state's Guardian Ad Litem program. And Proviso 117.81 decreases by 1% the interest rate for tax refunds paid during the current fiscal year. Of the revenue resulting from the 1% reduction, $475,000 must be used by the Senate for operating expenses of the Joint Citizens and Legislative Committee on Children, and the remaining revenue must be used by the Department of Juvenile Justice for programs for mentoring or other alternatives to incarceration. For electronic filing option under penalties of perjury, the proviso states that the Department of Revenue may require a statement subject to penalties of perjury instead of a statement under oath for the purpose of allowing certain applications for licenses or permits to be filed electronically.